The laptop screen flickered at 2:47 a.m., casting blue shadows across my cluttered workbench. Another busted hard drive from someone who thought downloading everything on the internet was a brilliant idea. I'd been running my IT repair business for 8 years now, fixing the digital disasters of this Rust Belt city one computer at a time. My phone buzzed against the metal desk. Bank alert. Someone had just tried to charge $3,000 to our joint account. Flight to Chicago. First class. I stared at the notification, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Ava was supposed to be at her marketing conference in Pittsburgh this weekend. Last I checked, Pittsburgh wasn't in Illinois. Another buzz. This time, a text message that made my stomach drop through the concrete floor. Flying to meet Derek for Valentines weekend, don't wait up. Derek. The name I'd been hearing whispered in phone calls for months. The client she'd been working late to accommodate. The reason she'd been showering at odd hours and buying lingerie I never got to see. I sat back in my squeaky office chair, surrounded by the electronic corpses of other people's mistakes. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days fixing broken things, but I couldn't fix my own marriage. My name is Jack Morrison, and I'd just discovered that my wife of 12 years was about to spend Valentine's Day with another man. On my dime. The workshop felt smaller suddenly, walls closing in like a vice. This place had been my sanctuary, filled with the honest smell of solder and the satisfying clicks of keyboards being resurrected. Now it felt like a tomb. I picked up my phone and opened our banking app. Joint account, joint credit cards, joint everything. We'd built this financial partnership over more than a decade, combining our resources like two streams flowing into one river. Ava made good money at her marketing firm downtown, and my business brought in steady income from the blue-collar folks who couldn't afford the fancy repair shops in the suburbs. But right now, none of that mattered. What mattered was that she was trying to fund her romantic getaway with our shared resources. I scrolled through recent transactions. Dinner at Romano's last Tuesday, $97 for 2 people. Except I'd been home that night, eating leftover pizza and watching old movies. Hotel reservation in Chicago for 3 nights. Expensive lingerie from that boutique on 5th Street. Each charge was like a paper cut, small but stinging. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My finger hovered over the account settings. Joint accounts meant joint control. She could spend our money on her lover, but she'd forgotten one crucial detail. I had the same access she did. 3 clicks later, every credit card was frozen. Another 2 clicks, and her flight reservation was canceled. The airline's automated system would send her a notification in about 6 hours, right around the time she'd be heading to the airport. I leaned back and took a long sip of cold coffee. For the first time in months, I was smiling. My phone rang. Ava's ringtone, some pop song she'd downloaded that sounded like fingernails on a chalkboard. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again, and again. On the 4th call, I answered. Jack, thank goodness. There's been some mistake with the airline. They canceled my flight and my card isn't working. Can you— No mistake, I said, my voice steady as concrete. I canceled everything. Silence stretched between us like a tightrope. I could hear airport announcements in the background, the bustle of early morning travelers heading off to their destinations. You— What? Jack, this is important. This is for work. Derek isn't work, Ava. Derek is your boyfriend. The silence this time was different, heavier, guilty. I don't know what you think you know, but I know you've been planning this weekend for months. I know you bought lingerie last week. I know you had dinner at Romano's with someone who wasn't me. And I know you're standing in an airport right now, probably wearing that red dress you said was for client meetings. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Bingo. Jack, let me explain. No need. You explained everything perfectly in your text. You're meeting Derek for Valentine's weekend. Very clear communication. Please, I can't get home. I don't have money for another ticket and my card. Your card works fine. Our joint cards don't. There's a difference. I hung up and turned off the phone. The workshop felt bigger now, like I could breathe again. I had work to do. By sunrise, I'd mapped out Ava's entire digital life. 12 years of marriage teaches you a lot about someone's habits, including their passwords. She used variations of our daughter Sophie's name and birthday for everything, which made accessing her accounts embarrassingly easy. Her email revealed 6 months of correspondence with Derek Hartman, a tech consultant from Chicago. The messages started professional, discussions about digital marketing strategies and client engagement protocols. But by month 3, they'd devolved into the kind of romantic drivel that would make a greeting card writer cringe. Derek was everything I wasn't. His LinkedIn profile showed a guy in expensive suits standing in front of glass office buildings. His company specialized in innovative solutions for forward-thinking enterprises, whatever that meant. His apartment, based on the photos Ava had saved, looked like something from a magazine, all clean lines and minimalist furniture that probably cost more than my truck. I printed out the most damning emails and tucked them into a folder. Evidence for later. My phone, still turned off, had accumulated 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. I didn't need to read them to know they'd follow a predictable pattern. Anger, bargaining, tears, more anger. Instead, I focused on research. Derek's social media painted him as the kind of guy who posted pictures of his morning coffee and tagged the location of every restaurant he visited. His last relationship had ended 8 months ago with a woman named Patricia, who'd left some interesting comments on his older posts about his commitment issues and wandering eye. Ava's best friend Jenna worked in HR at the same marketing firm. They'd been tight since college, sharing everything from career advice to, apparently, relationship secrets. Jenna's Facebook was locked down tighter than Fort Knox, but her Twitter account revealed a woman with strong opinions about women supporting women and toxic masculinity. I made a note to watch that one carefully. By noon, I'd compiled a comprehensive dossier on everyone in Ava's orbit: her boss, her co-workers, her gym friends, her book club. In a city this size, everyone knew everyone else's business. Information was currency, and I was about to become very wealthy. My phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I answered on the 4th ring. "Jack? It's me." Ava's voice sounded hoarse, defeated. "I'm calling from a payphone at the airport." "Payphones still exist? Fascinating." "Don't be a smartass. I'm stranded here. I've been trying to get home for hours, but everything's booked, and I can't afford the last-minute prices." "Sounds like a personal problem." "Jack, please. I know you're angry, but..." "Angry? No, Ava. Angry is what I was when you started coming home late every night. Angry is what I was when you stopped wearing your wedding ring to work. This is clarity." I heard her crying, soft sniffles that once would have melted my resolve. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "It was just... I don't know what I was thinking. Derek and I, we never actually... Save it for someone who cares. You want to get home? Figure it out yourself. You're a smart, independent woman with a successful career. I'm sure you'll manage." "My luggage is being held at airport security. I dropped it off this morning with a note explaining that you'd be picking it up." More silence. Then, "You came here? I wanted to see the look on your face when you realized what you'd lost." That wasn't entirely true. I'd driven to the airport because I needed to see this through, to witness the first consequence of my actions. Watching Ava argue with airline staff while other travelers filmed her meltdown on their phones had been more satisfying than I'd expected. "Jenna's going to pick me up," she said finally. "But Jack, when I get home, we need to talk." "No, we don't. When you get home, you need to pack. I want you out by tomorrow night." I hung up and turned the phone off again. The house felt different when I walked through it that afternoon. 12 years of shared space, shared memories, shared dreams. Wedding photos on the mantel, vacation souvenirs on the bookshelf, her coffee mug still sitting in the sink from yesterday morning. I started in her closet, methodically going through pockets and purses. I found receipts for restaurants I'd never been to, a spare key to an apartment I didn't recognize, and a small jewelry box containing a necklace I'd never seen her wear. The necklace was expensive, white gold with a small diamond pendant. The kind of gift a man gives a woman when he's serious about her. The receipt was still in the box. Derek had bought it 3 weeks ago. I sat on our bed, holding the necklace up to the afternoon light streaming through the window. 3 weeks ago, Ava had told me she was working late on a big presentation. She'd come home after midnight, claiming the client dinner had run long. She'd been wearing this necklace under her shirt. I remembered now, catching a glimpse of the chain when she'd bent down to kiss my forehead before heading to the shower. The rage that hit me was clean and cold, like jumping into a mountain lake. It washed away the last remnants of doubt, the tiny voice that had been whispering about forgiveness and second chances. I pocketed the necklace and continued my search. By evening, I had enough evidence to destroy her reputation, her career, and her relationship with Derek. But that wasn't enough anymore. I wanted her to understand what she'd thrown away. I wanted her to feel the same hollow emptiness that had been eating at me for months. I wanted her to know what it felt like to lose everything. Ava came home at 9:30 p.m., her key scraping against the lock like fingernails on metal. I was sitting in my recliner, reading a book about network security, when she walked into the living room. She looked terrible. Her red dress was wrinkled, her makeup smeared, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. The confident marketing executive who'd left yesterday morning had been replaced by someone smaller, more fragile. "Jack, we need to talk." I marked my place in the book and looked up. "Do we? I thought we covered everything this morning." Ava sat on the couch, hands shaking. "I know how this looks, but it's not what you think. It looks like you planned a romantic weekend with another man using our credit card. What part am I misunderstanding?" "Derek and we're just friends. I developed feelings, but we never crossed any lines." She paused, searching for a way to make it sound better. I pulled out the necklace, letting it dangle from my fingers. "Never crossed any lines?" Her face went white. "Where did you find that?" "Your jewelry box, hidden behind scarves. 3 weeks ago, Derek spent $1,200 on this. That's a pretty expensive way to say thanks." She reached for it, but I pulled it back. The receipt was still in the box, along with his note. "For the woman who makes every day feel like Valentine's Day." Tears streaked down her face. "Jack, please. I know I made mistakes, but..." "Mistakes? You planned this for months. You lied every day. Used our money for your affair. That's betrayal, not mistakes." I walked to the window, looking out at the quiet neighborhood. "I want you to leave. This is my house too." "Actually, it's not. I bought this place 2 years before we married. You're listed as a resident, not an owner." Her sharp intake of breath told me I'd hit a nerve. "You can't just throw me out." "I'm not. I'm asking you to leave." She was silent for a moment. "What about Sophie? Sophie's an adult. She can decide who she wants in her life. You're going to turn her against me." I turned around. "You did that yourself when you chose Derek over your family." Ava's phone buzzed on the coffee table. She glanced at it, her face briefly lighting up before she suppressed it. "Derek?" I asked. She nodded reluctantly. "Answer it." "Jack, I don't think..." "Answer it. Put it on speaker." Her hands shook as she picked up the phone. "Hello? Ava, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I waited at the airport for 3 hours. Derek's voice filled the room, smooth and confident, completely unaware I was listening. There were complications, Ava said, eyes locked on mine. With your flight? My husband found out about us. Silence. Then, oh, that's not good. No, it's not. Maybe this is for the best. We've been talking about you leaving him. Maybe this is the push you needed. They'd been planning this. Not just the weekend, but my entire future, like it was a business deal. Derek, Ava said, Jack is here. You're on speaker. Silence again. Jack? Hi, look, I know this is awkward, but what? I interrupted. You thought you could steal my wife without consequences? You thought I'd just let you destroy my family? It's not like that, man. Ava and we have a connection. Sometimes these things happen. These things don't just happen, Derek. People make choices. You chose to pursue a married woman. She chose to betray her family. And I'm choosing to make sure you both understand what those choices cost. Are you threatening me? I laughed, a sound devoid of humor. I don't make threats, Derek. I make promises. And here's mine. By the time I'm finished, you'll wish you'd never heard the name Ava Morrison. I ended the call, slipped the phone into my pocket. Jack, give me my phone. No. If you want to talk to your boyfriend, you'll find another way. She stood up, anger replacing her tears. You can't keep my phone. That's theft. Sue me. We stood across from each other, 12 years of marriage reduced to this, pure hostility. I'm not leaving, she said. This is my home too, legally or not. If you want me gone, you'll have to call the police. Fine. I walked to the kitchen and picked up the landline. Dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? I need to report a domestic disturbance at 1247 Oak Street. My wife is refusing to leave after I discovered she's been having an affair. Sir, is anyone in immediate danger? No, but she's making threats, and I'm concerned about escalation. Ava's eyes went wide. She was shaking her head frantically, mouthing no over and over. We'll send someone out to assess the situation, sir. Please stay on the line. I hung up and looked at Ava. You have about 10 minutes to decide if you want to explain to the police why you're refusing to leave, or if you'd prefer to pack a bag and stay with Jenna tonight. You bastard. Yeah, probably. But I'm a bastard who's tired of being played for a fool. She ran upstairs, and I heard drawers slamming, closet doors banging. By the time the police knocked on my door, she was standing by the front entrance with an overnight bag, her face a mask of controlled rage. The officers were professional but clearly annoyed at being called out for what was obviously a domestic dispute between two people who needed lawyers, not law enforcement. Ma'am, do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight? The older officer asked. Yes, I'm staying with a friend. And sir, you're comfortable with her removing her personal belongings? Of course. I'm not trying to keep her prisoner. I just want her to respect my request that she find other accommodations while we work through our marital issues. The officers exchanged a look. They'd seen this before. Marriages imploding in real time, people too angry to think straight. We'd recommend you both contact attorneys tomorrow, the younger officer said. Work this out through proper channels. After they left, the house felt enormous and empty. I walked through the rooms, seeing everything differently now. The couch where we'd watched movies together, the kitchen table where we'd shared thousands of meals, the bedroom where we'd made love and fought and made up and fought again. All of it felt like it belonged to someone else now. I poured myself 3 fingers of whiskey and sat back down in my recliner. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The next morning brought a text from an unknown number. You humiliated me in front of the police. This isn't over. A. I was sitting in Ray's boxing gym, drinking coffee from a paper cup and watching him train a kid who couldn't have been more than 16. Ray Kowalski had been my best friend since high school, back when we were both skinny kids with big dreams and no money. Now Ray owned this gym in the old warehouse district, training fighters and teaching self-defense to suburban moms who wanted to feel empowered, He was built like a fire hydrant, short, thick, and nearly indestructible. "So she's staying with the friend?" Ray asked, hitting the heavy bag with methodical precision. "Jenna, yeah, for now." "And you're sure about this divorce thing? No chance of working it out?" I showed him the photos on my phone, screenshots of Ava's emails with Derek, pictures of the necklace, credit card statements showing months of deception. Ray whistled low. "Damn, Jack. She really did a number on you." 6 months, Ray, maybe longer. While I was working 60-hour weeks to keep our finances stable, she was planning her exit strategy. "So what's the plan? You hiring a lawyer?" "Eventually. But first, I want her to understand what she's thrown away." Ray stopped hitting the bag and looked at me with concern. "Jack, whatever you're thinking, be careful. Revenge has a way of eating people alive. This isn't revenge. It's consequences." But even as I said it, I knew that wasn't entirely true. What I was planning went beyond natural consequences. What I was planning was designed to hurt. I spent the afternoon at my workshop, but instead of fixing computers, I was building something else entirely. A comprehensive campaign to dismantle Ava's carefully constructed life. First target, her job. Ava worked for Hartman & Associates, a mid-sized marketing firm that specialized in corporate consulting. Her boss, Richard Hartman, was a by-the-book guy who'd built his reputation on ethical practices and family values. The company's website featured photos of team-building exercises and charity events, all designed to project an image of moral integrity. I'd met Hartman at company Christmas parties over the years. He was the kind of man who talked about work-life balance while expecting his employees to be available 24/7. But he was also old-fashioned enough to be scandalized by extramarital affairs, especially when they involved his employees and potentially compromised client relationships. Derek's company, Morrison Tech Solutions, had been courting Hartman & Associates for months, trying to land a lucrative consulting contract. Ava had been the primary point of contact, which explained how she'd met her boyfriend in the first place. I crafted an anonymous email to Hartman, carefully worded to sound like it came from a concerned client who'd witnessed unprofessional behavior between Ava and Derek during business meetings. I included dates, locations, and just enough detail to be credible without being obviously vindictive. The email painted a picture of an employee who was using company time and resources to conduct a personal relationship, potentially compromising the firm's reputation and client relationships. I sent it from a burner email account and deleted all traces from my computer. Next target, Derek himself. Derek's social media presence made him an easy mark. He posted constantly, photos of his meals, his workouts, his apartment, his car. Everything was geotagged and time-stamped, creating a detailed record of his daily routine. More importantly, his posts revealed a man who was deeply concerned with his image. His LinkedIn profile emphasized his professionalism and ethical standards. His company's website featured testimonials about his integrity and reliability. I created a fake social media account using stock photos and began following Derek's activities. Within a few days, I had his schedule mapped out: gym at 6 a.m., coffee at the same cafe every morning, lunch meetings at predictable restaurants. But I needed more than his schedule. I needed leverage. That's when I found Patricia. Derek's ex-girlfriend had left a trail of bitter comments on his older social media posts, complaints about his wandering eye and commitment issues. A little research revealed that Patricia Chen was a graphic designer living in Chicago, recently divorced, and apparently still angry about how Derek had treated her. I sent her a carefully crafted message, posing as someone who was considering doing business with Derek, but had heard concerning rumors about his professional ethics. I mentioned that I'd noticed her comments on his posts and wondered if she might be willing to share her experiences. Patricia's response was immediate and brutal. Derek, according to her, was a serial cheater who specialized in targeting women in committed relationships. He got a thrill from the chase, from convincing married women to leave their husbands for him. But once they were available, He lost interest and moved on to the next challenge. She had emails, text messages, and photos that painted Derek as a predator who used his professional charm to manipulate vulnerable women. I thanked Patricia for her time and saved everything she'd sent me. By evening, I had enough ammunition to destroy both Ava and Derek's professional reputations, but I wasn't ready to fire those shots yet. First, I wanted to see how they'd react to smaller pressures. I started with Derek's car. His Tesla was his pride and joy, featured prominently in his social media posts. He parked it in the same spot every day, a reserved space in his apartment building's garage. Getting into the garage was easier than I'd expected. I waited until someone else was entering, then slipped in behind them like I belonged there. Derek's car was exactly where his Instagram posts had shown it would be, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. I didn't damage the car. That would have been crude, obvious, potentially criminal. Instead, I opened a can of sardines and emptied it into his air conditioning intake. The smell would build gradually over the next few days, becoming unbearable by the weekend. The car would be undrivable until he figured out the source of the odor and had the entire ventilation system cleaned. On his windshield, I left a simple message written in washable marker. Home wrecker. Then I positioned myself across the street and waited. Derek emerged from his apartment building 40 minutes later, dressed in an expensive suit and carrying a leather briefcase. He was talking on his phone, laughing about something, completely oblivious to what was waiting for him. His reaction was everything I'd hoped for. First confusion, then anger, then embarrassment as he realized other people in the garage were watching him scrub the message off his windshield. He looked around frantically, trying to identify who might have done this. But the garage was full of anonymous cars and shadows, and I was watching from a coffee shop across the street. When he started his car, I could see his face change as the smell hit him. He rolled down all the windows, but that only made it worse. After 5 minutes of trying to air out the vehicle, he gave up and called what I assumed was a cab. I finished my coffee and drove home, feeling satisfied for the first time in months. That night, I got a call from Ava. Someone vandalized Derek's car. That's terrible. Did he call the police? Jack, don't play dumb. We know it was you. Do you? Can you prove it? Silence. Because if you're going to make accusations, you should probably have evidence. Otherwise, it just sounds like paranoia. This has to stop. What has to stop, Ava? I haven't done anything to you. I asked you to leave my house, which is my right. I canceled credit cards that I'm legally entitled to control. I haven't threatened anyone or broken any laws. What about Derek's car? What about it? You said someone vandalized it. That could have been anyone. Maybe it was Patricia. I heard her sharp intake of breath. How do you know about Patricia? I know lots of things now, Ava. I know Derek has a pattern of targeting married women. I know he's done this before. I know you're not special. You're just his latest conquest. That's not true. Isn't it? Ask him about Jennifer Walsh, or Michelle Rodriguez, or any of the other wives he's convinced to leave their husbands. Ask him what happened to those relationships once the women were available. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, the real campaign would begin. Monday morning brought news that my anonymous email had found its target. Jenna called me at 8:30 a.m., her voice tight with barely controlled panic. Jack, what did you do? I was in my workshop, pretending to diagnose a laptop with a cracked screen. Good morning, Jenna. I'm fine, thanks for asking. How are you? Ava's been called into a meeting with HR and Richard Hartman. They're asking questions about her relationship with Jack Morrison, about whether she's been using company resources for personal business. That sounds serious. Don't play innocent with me. I know you're behind this. Behind what? I don't work at Hartman and Associates. I don't have any influence over their HR policies. Someone sent an anonymous email. Anonymous emails come from anonymous sources, Jenna. By definition, no one knows who sent them. I could hear her breathing heavily, trying to control her temper. Jenna had always been the strategist in Ava's life, the one who planned their girls' nights and coordinated their social media campaigns. She was used to being in control. Ava could lose her job over this. Actions have consequences. Maybe she should have thought about that before she started conducting personal business on company time. You're destroying her life. No, Jenna, I'm just making sure the right people have the right information. What they do with that information is up to them. I hung up and went back to work, but my concentration was shot. The laptop's cracked screen seemed like a metaphor for everything that was happening. Surface damage that made the whole system unreliable. By noon, I had updates from multiple sources. Mrs. Patterson across the street had seen Ava's car in my driveway that morning, then watched her leave 20 minutes later carrying boxes. My neighbor's gossip network was more efficient than the evening news. Ray called around lunchtime with information from his own sources. His ex-wife worked as a receptionist at a law firm downtown, and she'd heard through the legal community that Hartman and Associates was conducting an internal investigation into potential ethics violations. They're taking this seriously, Jack. Ava could be facing more than just a reprimand. Good. Is it, though? You sure you want to go this far? I thought about the necklace hidden in Derek's jewelry box, about 6 months of lies, about the weekend they'd planned while I was working late to keep our finances stable. Yeah, Ray, I'm sure. That afternoon, I received a text from Sophie, our daughter. Mom says you're trying to ruin her career. What's going on? I stared at the message for a long time. Sophie was 22, old enough to understand adult complexities, but young enough to still believe in fairy tale endings. She'd grown up thinking her parents had a solid marriage, that we were the kind of couple who'd made it work, despite the odds. I called her instead of texting back. Dad? What's happening? Mom's crying and won't tell me everything? Your mother and I are having some problems, sweetheart. We're probably going to get divorced. Silence. Then, because of Derek. So she knew about Derek. Of course she did. Ava had probably been sharing details of her friendship for months, maybe even asking Sophie for advice about her feelings. Yeah, because of Derek. Mom says it's not what it looks like. What does it look like to you, Sophie? Another pause. Like she was cheating on you. Then you probably have a pretty good understanding of the situation. But Dad, trying to get her fired? That seems... I didn't try to get her fired. I made sure her boss knew that she was conducting personal business during work hours, using company resources to maintain a relationship with a potential client. What he does with that information is his decision. That's the same thing. No, it's not. If your mother loses her job, it's because she made choices that violated her company's policies. I didn't make those choices for her. Sophie was quiet for so long, I thought she might have hung up. Are you okay, Dad? The question hit me harder than I'd expected. Was I okay? I was systematically dismantling my wife's life, planning revenge scenarios like military campaigns, and feeling more energized than I had in months. I'm fine, sweetheart. I'm just tired of being lied to. I love you both. I know you do, and we both love you. That's not going to change, no matter what happens between your mother and me. After I hung up, I sat in my workshop staring at the wall of broken computers, waiting for repair. Each one represented someone's digital disaster, their lost photos and corrupted files and crashed hard drives. Most of them could be fixed with time and patience, but some damage was permanent. I wondered which category my marriage fell into. My phone buzzed with a call from Derek's number. I answered on the second ring. Jack, it's Derek. We need to talk. Do we? Look, I know you're angry, and I understand why. But this has gone far enough. Ava could lose her job because of whatever you sent to her boss. What makes you think I sent anything to anyone? Come on, man. We both know you're behind this. The car thing, the email to Hartman, probably other stuff we don't even know about yet. I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the desperation in his voice. You sound paranoid, Derek. Maybe you should talk to someone about that. I'm trying to talk to you, Look, I get it. You're hurt. Your wife developed feelings for another man. That's got to be devastating. Developed feelings? Is that what we're calling it? We never slept together, Jack. I swear to you, nothing physical ever happened between us. Just emotional infidelity. Just months of lies and secret meetings and planning a romantic weekend behind my back. Just the complete destruction of my marriage. But hey, you kept your clothes on, so I should be grateful. That's not what I meant. What did you mean, Derek? That I should be understanding about you stealing my wife? That I should just step aside and let you destroy my family without consequences? I meant that maybe we can work something out. Man to man. What kind of something? I'll end things with Ava. I'll tell her it was a mistake, that I can't see her anymore. I'll back off completely. I almost laughed. You'll end things with her? Derek, you don't have things with her anymore. She's been kicked out of my house. She's under investigation at work, and her entire life is falling apart. What exactly do you think you'd be ending? Jack, please. I'm trying to do the right thing here. The right thing would have been not pursuing a married woman in the first place. But since we're past that point, let me make something clear. This isn't about you anymore. This is about her. This is about making sure she understands what she threw away when she chose you over her family. You're talking about revenge. I'm talking about consequences. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're trying to destroy her life. From where I'm sitting, it looks like she destroyed her own life. I'm just making sure everyone else can see the wreckage. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. By evening, the local gossip network had delivered more updates. Ava had been suspended from work pending the completion of their internal investigation. She'd been seen crying in the parking lot of her office building, making phone calls that seemed to go unanswered. Jenna had been asking around about divorce attorneys, apparently on Ava's behalf, and Derek had checked out of his hotel early, changing his return flight to Chicago from Friday to tomorrow morning. I poured myself a whiskey and sat on my back porch, looking out at the yard Ava and I had landscaped together 3 summers ago. We'd spent weeks planning the layout, choosing plants, arguing about where to put the bird feeder. Now it just looked like a yard. My phone rang. Ava's number. Jack, Derek's leaving. Good for him. He says he can't handle the pressure, that his reputation is being damaged by association with me. Sounds like Derek's smarter than I gave him credit for. You won, okay? You destroyed everything. Are you happy now? I thought about that question. Was I happy? I felt satisfied, vindicated, energized by the success of my campaign. But happy? I'm not trying to win anything, Ava. I'm just making sure you understand what you lost when you decided I wasn't enough for you. I never said you weren't enough. You didn't have to say it. You showed me every day for 6 months. She cried softly on the phone. I want to come home. This isn't your home anymore. Jack, please. I made a mistake. Derek wasn't what I thought. Can we work this out? Work what out? You don't have a job, boyfriend, or home. What do you want to work out? Our marriage. Our marriage ended when you chose Derek over family. Everything since is just paperwork. I hung up, turned off the phone, and planned to start looking for a divorce attorney the next day. Tonight, I just wanted peace on my porch. 3 weeks later, Jenna walked into Ray's gym, heels clicking against the concrete. We need to talk, she said. Back room, I told her. She followed me through the gym. Ava's in the hospital, Jenna said. Panic attacks, stress-related. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? You're the reason she's there. I studied Jenna, who looked worn. I'm the reason? Not the lies, the affair, or her throwing away 12 years for a weekend in Chicago? You destroyed her life, her job, relationship, and home. What did you think would happen? I thought she'd face consequences like an adult. Jenna's face tightened. She made a mistake. Mistakes are forgetting to pick up milk. What Ava did was deliberate deception. So you waged war. I made sure the right people knew. Her boss had to know. Derek needed to face consequences, and you needed to see what enabling self-destruction does. Jenna's eyes narrowed. What do you mean by that? You knew. You helped cover for her, maybe encouraged the affair. I supported her. You supported the affair. We stared at each other. What do you want? I asked. I want you to back off. Let her rebuild. I haven't contacted anyone in weeks. Then why the anonymous emails, the questions at her old job, the complaints to her apartment manager? I don't know anything about that. Right. Just like you didn't know about Derek's car or the email to Hartman. Those were responses to actions. If someone's harassing Ava now, it's not me. Jenna studied me. You're serious? Very serious. Ava understands what she lost. Derek's out of the picture. I'm moving on. Then who? She stopped, realizing something. Who what? Nothing. Stay away from her. She's been through enough. After she left, I realized someone else had a motive to hurt Ava. Patricia, Derek's ex. She hated how he'd treated her. Maybe she decided to take revenge on his latest victim. I called Patricia. Jack, didn't expect to hear from you? Has Derek contacted you? Derek? God, no, why would he? What about Ava Morrison, the woman he was involved with here? The married one? No, I don't know her at all. Why? Someone's been harassing her. Anonymous emails, complaints to her landlord, that kind of thing. I thought maybe you might know something about it. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Jack, are you asking if I'm stalking some woman I've never met because she was stupid enough to get involved with my ex-boyfriend? I'm asking if you know anything about ongoing harassment directed at Ava Morrison. No, I don't. And frankly, I'm a little insulted that you'd think I would. I may be angry at Derek, but I'm not crazy. She hung up, leaving me with more questions than answers. If it wasn't me and it wasn't Patricia, who was continuing the campaign against Ava? The answer came 3 days later, in the form of a phone call from Sophie. Dad, I need to tell you something about Jenna. I was in my workshop, installing a new hard drive in a customer's desktop computer. What about her? She's been... I don't know how to say this. She's been encouraging Mom to fight back against you. Not just legally, but personally. What do you mean, personally? She's been telling Mom that you're probably seeing someone else, that you planned this whole thing to get rid of her so you could start over with a younger woman. She's been pushing Mom to hire a private investigator to dig up dirt on you. I set down my screwdriver and gave Sophie my full attention. Has your mother hired an investigator? I don't think so. She doesn't have the money right now. But Dad, there's something else. I think Jenna might be the one sending those anonymous emails. Why would Jenna harass your mother? That's what I couldn't figure out at first. But then I remembered something from when I was in high school. Jenna had a huge crush on you. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? She was always asking about you, always finding excuses to come over when Mom wasn't home. She used to make these comments about how Mom didn't appreciate you, how you deserved someone who understood you better. I sat down heavily in my office chair. Sophie, that was years ago. People get crushes. It doesn't mean... Dad, I think she wanted Mom's marriage to fail. I think she's been working toward this for a long time. The pieces started falling into place. Jenna's immediate knowledge of Ava's suspension from work. Her detailed information about the anonymous emails and apartment complaints. Her sudden appearance at Ray's gym. Her insistence that I was responsible for harassment I knew nothing about. Sophie, has Jenna been spending a lot of time with your mother since she moved out? Every day. She's been staying at Jenna's apartment, and Jenna's been, I don't know, almost controlling about it. She screens Mom's phone calls. She decides what Mom should eat. She's been making all these decisions about Mom's life. And the harassment started after your mother moved in with Jenna? Yeah, about a week later. I closed my eyes and tried to process what Sophie was telling me. Jenna hadn't been Ava's loyal friend helping her through a crisis. She'd been the architect of the crisis, manipulating events to destroy Ava's marriage and isolate her from everyone except Jenna herself. "Dad, I think Jenna's in love with you. I think she has been for years." "Sophie, that's crazy? Maybe. But it explains everything. Why she encouraged Mom's relationship with Derek. Why she's been sabotaging Mom's attempts to reconcile with you. Why she's continuing the harassment campaign even after you stopped." I thought about Jenna's behavior over the years. The way she'd always been critical of Ava's choices, always suggesting that Ava was taking me for granted. The way she'd lingered after dinner parties, finding excuses to stay and talk after Ava had gone to bed. "Dad, I think you need to talk to Mom. I think she's in real danger." "Danger from Jenna?" "Jenna's been giving her pills for the panic attacks. She says they're from her own prescription, but Mom's been getting worse, not better. And she's been isolating Mom from everyone, me, her other friends, even her family." I was already reaching for my keys. "Where are they now?" "Jenna's apartment. But Dad, be careful. I think Jenna's been planning this for a long time." I hung up and headed for the door, my mind racing through the implications of what Sophie had told me. If she was right, then I hadn't been fighting Ava and Derek. I'd been fighting Jenna, and she'd been using my own campaign against my wife to further her own agenda. The question now was, what was Jenna's endgame, and how far was she willing to go to achieve it? Jenna's apartment building was one of those modern glass towers downtown, all clean lines and expensive finishes. The kind of place that screamed success and sophistication, where the monthly rent probably exceeded most people's mortgage payments. I stood in the lobby, looking at the directory, trying to decide on my approach. Direct confrontation seemed risky. If Sophie was right about Jenna's mental state, surprising her might make things worse for Ava. Instead, I called Ava's phone. "Jack?" Her voice sounded weak, distant. "Ava, I need to see you. There are things we need to discuss." "I can't. Jenna says I shouldn't talk to you without a lawyer present." "Jenna says a lot of things. But this is about Jenna, and I think you need to hear it." Silence. Then, "What about Jenna?" "Not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere? Neutral ground?" "I don't think that's a good idea." "Ava, do you trust me?" The question seemed to surprise her. What kind of question is that?" "Do you trust me? Not as your husband, not as someone you're divorcing, but as someone who's known you for 12 years and has never lied to you?" Another pause. "Yes." "Then meet me at Morrison's Cafe on 5th Street. 1 hour, come alone." "Jack, I can't just—" "Ava, I think you're in danger, real danger, and I think the person you're trusting to protect you is the one you need protection from." I hung up before she could argue. Morrison's Cafe was a local institution, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and gossip traveled faster than the Wi-Fi. I chose a table in the back corner, away from the main traffic flow, but visible from the entrance. Ava arrived 20 minutes later, looking like a shadow of herself. She'd lost weight, her clothes hanging loose on her frame. Her hair, usually styled to perfection, was pulled back in a simple ponytail. Without makeup, I could see the dark circles under her eyes, the hollow look of someone who hadn't been sleeping. She sat down across from me, without ordering anything. "You look terrible," I said. "Thank you. That's exactly what every woman wants to hear." "I'm not trying to flatter you, Ava. I'm trying to tell you that you look like someone who's being slowly poisoned." Her eyes widened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "When did the panic attacks start?" "About 3 weeks ago, right after Derek left." "And when did Jenna start giving you medication for them?" "How do you know about—" She stopped, studying my face. "You've been watching me." "No, I haven't. Sophie called me. She's worried about you." "Sophie doesn't understand the situation." "Doesn't she? Tell me about the medication Jen has been giving you." Ava's hand moved instinctively to her purse. "They're just anti-anxiety pills, from her prescription." "What kind of pills?" I don't know. Little white ones. They help me sleep. Ava, you don't take medication from someone else's prescription. Ever. You know that. Jenna's a friend. She's trying to help me. Is she? Tell me about the anonymous emails you've been getting. Ava's composure cracked slightly. How do you know about those? Because Jenna told me about them. She accused me of sending them. Didn't you? No. I stopped my campaign against you the day Derek left town. I got what I wanted. You understood what you'd lost, and he was out of our lives. I had no reason to continue. Then who's been sending them? I leaned forward, lowering my voice. Think about it, Ava. Who has access to your email accounts? Who knows all the details of your relationship with Derek? Who's been controlling every aspect of your life since you moved in with her? You think Jenna... She shook her head. That's ridiculous. Jenna's been my best friend since college. She's been taking care of me. Has she? Or has she been isolating you from everyone else in your life? Ava was quiet, thinking. When's the last time you talked to your sister, or your parents, or any of your friends besides Jenna? Jenna said it would be better to keep a low profile until the divorce was finalized. And when's the last time you made a decision about your own life without consulting Jenna first? Another pause. She's just being supportive. Ava, I need you to think back to before Derek. How often did Jenna criticize our marriage? How often did she suggest that you deserved better? That I didn't appreciate you? She was just being a good friend. Was she? Or was she planting seeds of doubt about our relationship? I could see the wheels turning in Ava's mind, pieces of a puzzle she'd never considered before starting to fall into place. Sophie thinks Jenna orchestrated your affair with Derek. That's insane. Is it? Jenna works in HR. She had access to Derek's information when his company was courting your firm. She could have easily arranged for you to be assigned as his primary contact. Ava's face went pale. Jack, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared, because I think Jenna's been planning this for years. I told her about Sophie's revelation, about Jenna's long-standing feelings for me, about the pattern of manipulation and control that had led to this moment. Think about it, Ava. Who benefited from your affair? Not you. You lost your marriage, your job, your home. Not Derek. He fled town to protect his reputation. But Jenna got exactly what she wanted. She got you isolated and dependent on her, and she got me single and vulnerable. Ava was shaking now, her hands trembling as she reached for her phone. I need to go home. You don't have a home, remember? You're living with Jenna. I need to get my things and leave. Where will you go? She looked at me with desperate eyes. I don't know. I don't have anywhere to go. For the first time in weeks, I felt something other than anger toward my wife. She looked lost, broken, manipulated by someone she'd trusted completely. Ava, I want you to listen to me carefully. Don't go back to Jenna's apartment alone. Don't take any more of those pills she's been giving you, and don't tell her about this conversation. What should I do? Call Sophie. Ask her to pick you up here. Stay with her tonight or get a hotel room, but don't go back to Jenna's. I can't afford a hotel. I pulled out my wallet and handed her $200. Yes, you can. She stared at the money like it was a foreign object. Why are you helping me? Because despite everything that's happened between us, I don't want to see you hurt by someone who's been manipulating both of us. Ava called Sophie, who promised to pick her up within the hour. We sat in uncomfortable silence, both of us processing the implications of what we'd discovered. Jack, if you're right about Jenna, then everything that happened, Derek, the affair, the divorce, was orchestrated by someone who wanted to destroy our marriage. Yeah. But I still made the choice to get involved with Derek. I still lied to you for months. Yes, you did. And that's something we'll have to deal with separately. But right now, the priority is making sure you're safe from Jenna. Sophie arrived 30 minutes later, her face tight with worry. She hugged Ava carefully like she was afraid her mother might break. "Mom, we're going to figure this out. But first, we need to get you away from Jenna." As they prepared to leave, Ava turned back to me. "Jack, what if you're wrong? What if Jenna really has been trying to help me? Then you'll have spent one night in a hotel for nothing. But if I'm right, and you go back to her apartment tonight, I'm not sure you'll get another chance to leave." They left together, Sophie's arm protectively around her mother's shoulders. I sat in the cafe for another hour, thinking about the conversation and what came next. If I was right about Jenna, she wasn't going to take Ava's disappearance well, and if she'd been planning this manipulation for years, she probably had contingency plans. My phone rang at 9:30 p.m. "Jack, it's Jenna. Where's Ava?" "I have no idea. Why would I know where Ava is?" "She left this afternoon and hasn't come back. She's not answering her phone. Maybe she went for a walk. Maybe she needed some space. Jack, she's not well. She needs her medication. If something happens to her—" "What kind of medication, Jenna?" Silence. "Because according to Ava, you've been giving her pills from your own prescription. That's illegal, by the way." "I was trying to help her." "Were you? Or were you trying to keep her dependent and controllable?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do. I think you know exactly what you're talking about. The question is, what's your endgame here, Jenna? What did you think was going to happen?" "I think you're paranoid and delusional." "Maybe. But Ava's safe now, away from your pills and your manipulation. So whatever you were planning, it's over." "This isn't over, Jack. Not even close." She hung up, leaving me with the certainty that the real confrontation was still to come. The next morning brought a series of escalating phone calls. First Jenna, demanding to know where Ava was staying. Then Ava, panicking because Jenna had shown up at Sophie's apartment at 6 a.m. Then Sophie asking if I thought they should call the police. I was in my workshop trying to focus on a routine repair job, but my concentration was shot. Every sound outside made me look up, expecting to see Jenna's car in my driveway. "Dad, she's getting worse." Sophie's voice was tight with worry. "She called Mom 17 times last night. When we didn't answer, she started calling the hotel, demanding to know if Mom was registered there." "Where are you now?" "Driving around. Mom's too scared to stay in one place. She thinks Jenna's following us." "Is she?" "I don't know. There was a black sedan behind us for about 10 miles, but it could have been anyone." I set down my tools and walked to the window. The street looked normal. Mrs. Patterson walking her dog, kids riding bikes, the mail truck making its rounds. But normal didn't mean safe. "Sophie, I want you to bring your mother here." "To your house?" "Dad, I don't think that's a good idea. You two aren't exactly—" "This isn't about our marriage problems. This is about keeping your mother safe until we can figure out what Jenna's planning. What if it's a trap? What if Jenna's using Mom to get to you?" The thought had occurred to me. But looking at the alternatives, hotels where Jenna could track them, Sophie's apartment where she'd already shown up, friends' houses where she might think to look, my house seemed like the safest option. It's a risk we'll have to take. At least here, I can control the environment. They arrived 20 minutes later, Ava looking even worse than she had yesterday. Her hands were shaking, and she kept looking over her shoulder like she expected Jenna to materialize behind her. "Jack, I'm sorry. I know this is awkward, but—" "Don't apologize. You're Sophie's mother, and you're in trouble. That's enough." I led them into the living room, the same space where we'd had our confrontation weeks earlier. It felt like a different lifetime. "Tell me about last night," I said. Ava sat on the edge of the couch, her purse clutched in her lap. After Sophie picked me up, we went to that hotel on Market Street. I was feeling better, clearer than I had in weeks. But around midnight, I started getting phone calls. From Jenna? At first. She was crying, saying she was worried about me, begging me to come home. When I didn't answer, The call started getting angry. "What kind of angry?" Sophie answered. She was screaming about how Mom was making a mistake, how you were manipulating her, how you'd just hurt her again. Then around 3 a.m., the calls stopped being from Jenna's number, Ava continued. They were coming from blocked numbers, different voices, people saying they knew where I was, that I couldn't hide forever. I felt ice form in my stomach. Different voices? At least 3 different people. But Jack, I think it was the same person disguising their voice. The phrasing was similar, the same kind of threats. What kind of threats? That I was a terrible mother, that I'd destroyed my family and deserved whatever happened to me, that I should hurt myself before someone else did it for me. Sophie was crying now, quiet tears that she wiped away with the back of her hand. Mom barely slept. This morning, when we were leaving the hotel, Jenna was sitting in the parking lot. She followed us to my apartment, and when we wouldn't let her in, she started pounding on the door, screaming that Mom was sick and needed help. Did you call the police? The apartment manager did, but by the time they got there, Jenna was gone. I walked to the window again, scanning the street for anything unusual. Still normal, still quiet. Ava, I need you to think carefully about something. Over the past few weeks, has Jenna ever mentioned me specifically? Has she talked about what she thinks should happen between us? Ava was quiet for a moment. She's been saying that once the divorce is final, you'll probably realize you made a mistake, that you'll want to reconcile, but by then it might be too late. Too late for what? She said I might not be available anymore. I thought she meant I might move away or start dating someone else. What if she meant something different? The question hung in the air between us. Sophie stopped crying and looked at me with growing alarm. Dad, you think she wants to hurt Mom? I think Jenna's been planning this for years, and her plan is falling apart. People do desperate things when their carefully constructed schemes collapse. My phone rang. Jenna's number. Jack, we need to talk. In person. I don't think that's a good idea. It's not a request. I have information about Ava that you need to hear. What kind of information? The kind that could destroy what's left of her reputation. Meet me at the old Morrison warehouse on River Street. 1 hour. Come alone. Jenna, whatever you're planning. 1 hour, Jack. If you're not there, I start making phone calls to some very interesting people. She hung up. Sophie and Ava were both staring at me. You can't go, Sophie said immediately. It's obviously a trap. Probably. But if I don't go, she'll escalate. And right now, escalation means putting your mother in more danger. What if she hurts you? I looked at Ava, sitting on my couch, looking fragile and broken. Despite everything that had happened between us, despite the lies and the affair and the destruction of our marriage, she was still Sophie's mother. She was still someone I'd loved for 12 years. Then you call the police and tell them everything we've figured out about Jenna. But I don't think she wants to hurt me. I think she wants something else. What? I think she wants me to choose her over you. I think she's been engineering this whole situation to force that choice. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Lock the doors behind me. Don't let anyone in except the police. And if I'm not back in 2 hours, call Ray and tell him what's happening. The Morrison warehouse had been abandoned for 5 years, a victim of the city's declining industrial base. It sat on the river like a concrete monument to better times, its windows broken and its parking lot cracked with weeds. Jenna's car was already there when I arrived. I found her in the main warehouse space, standing in a shaft of sunlight that streamed through a hole in the roof. She looked different, calmer, more composed than she'd sounded on the phone. Hello, Jack. Jenna, let's get this over with. You always were direct. I admired that about you. She started walking toward me, her heels echoing in the empty space. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out eventually? I asked. Figure what out? That you orchestrated Ava's affair. That you've been manipulating both of us for years." She smiled, and for the first time I saw the calculation behind it. "You're giving me too much credit. I didn't make Ava cheat on you. I just created opportunities for her to make that choice. By introducing her to Derek, by encouraging her dissatisfaction with our marriage, by feeding her pills to keep her confused and dependent. The pills were just anti-anxiety medication. She really was having panic attacks, caused by the stress of the situation you created." Jenna stopped about 10 feet away from me, close enough to talk normally but far enough to run if necessary. "I did what I had to do, Jack. You were wasting your life with her. She never appreciated you, never understood what she had. And you do? I've been in love with you for 15 years. Since the day Ava introduced us in college, I've watched you build a life with someone who took you for granted, who complained about your work and your friends and your dreams. So you decided to destroy my marriage. I decided to free you from a marriage that was making you miserable. By driving my wife into the arms of another man. By showing her who she really was. Deep down, Ava always wanted something more exciting, more glamorous. Derek represented everything she thought she was missing. I looked around the warehouse, trying to understand what she wanted from this confrontation. "What's your end game here, Jenna? What did you think would happen after you destroyed our marriage? I thought you'd realize that I was the one who really understood you. I thought you'd see that I was the one who'd been supporting you all along. By manipulating and lying to everyone around me. By doing what needed to be done." She reached into her purse and pulled out a gun. "Jenna, what are you doing?" "Finishing what I started." The gun was small, probably a .22, but it was pointed directly at my chest. "You were supposed to choose me, Jack. After everything I did to clear the path for us, you were supposed to realize that we belonged together. Instead, I figured out what you'd done. Instead, you're trying to reconcile with her. Even now, after everything she put you through, you're protecting her. I'm not trying to reconcile with Ava. Our marriage is over. But I'm not going to let you hurt her. She's weak, Jack. She's always been weak. She couldn't handle the pressure of an affair, couldn't handle losing her job, couldn't even handle a few anonymous emails without falling apart." "You mean the emails you sent?" "I mean the truth I shared with her, about what people really think of cheating wives, about what happens to women who destroy their families for selfish reasons." The gun was steady in her hands. She'd obviously practiced with it. "What do you want, Jenna?" "I want you to understand that everything I did for us. I want you to see that Ava was never worthy of you. And then what? And then we start over, together. With you having committed multiple felonies and threatened me with a gun? With me having removed the obstacles that were keeping us apart. I heard footsteps behind me and turned to see Ava walking into the warehouse. "Ava, get out of here!" But she kept walking toward us, her face set with determination I hadn't seen in months. "Hello, Jenna." "Ava, you shouldn't be here." "Shouldn't I? This is about me, isn't it? This whole elaborate plan to destroy my life?" Jenna's gun wavered between me and Ava. "You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone could see the wreckage. By drugging me, by isolating me from my family, by sending me threatening messages in the middle of the night, by showing you the truth about yourself." Ava took another step forward. "The truth. You want to talk about truth. Here's the truth, Jenna. Jack doesn't love you. He's never loved you. And destroying our marriage didn't change that. You don't know what you're talking about. I know that you've wasted 15 years of your life obsessing over a man who sees you as his wife's annoying friend. I know that all your manipulation and scheming accomplished was making both of us miserable." The gun was shaking now in Jenna's hands. "Shut up. I know that even if Jack and I never reconcile, even if we hate each other for the rest of our lives, he'll still never choose you. Shut up!" Because you're not the kind of woman men fall in love with, Jenna. You're the kind of woman they tolerate. Jenna screamed and fired the gun. The sound echoed through the warehouse like thunder. But Ava was still standing, and I realized the shot had gone wide, embedding itself in a concrete pillar behind us. I lunged forward and grabbed Jenna's wrist, forcing the gun toward the ceiling. She was stronger than she looked, but panic made her clumsy. We struggled for control of the weapon, spinning around the warehouse floor like some grotesque dance. The gun went off again, this time shattering one of the remaining windows. Then Ava was there, hitting Jenna with a piece of broken concrete, and the gun went flying across the floor. Jenna collapsed, red staining her forehead from a wound. I kicked the gun away and pulled out my phone to call 911. "Jack," Ava said quietly, "it's over." I looked at her, my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, the woman who'd betrayed me and lied to me and broken my heart. She was standing in a shaft of dusty sunlight, breathing hard, looking more alive than she had in months. "Yeah," I said, "it's over." But as I waited for the police to arrive, I realized that wasn't entirely true. Some things were over. Jenna's manipulation, the immediate danger, the confusion about what had really happened to our marriage. But other things were just beginning. The sirens were getting closer, and I could hear Jenna moaning as she regained consciousness. In a few minutes, this warehouse would be full of police and paramedics and investigators. But right now, it was just me and Ava, standing in the ruins of everything we'd built together, finally understanding the truth about how it had all fallen apart. "Jack," she said, and I could hear years of regret in her voice. "I know," I said. "I know." The sirens grew louder, and our old life officially came to an end.